in Philly. I just don't see that yet. All right. Speaking of Philly, we start you off here. The 53-man roster is going to be set here. And the legend himself, by the way, I've been watching this celebrating. I talked to Nick Sirianni over the weekend. I said, Nick, the Eagles have just absolutely thrown rose petals over Howard Eskin here. I mean, 35 years of talking trash in Philly. I guess, hey, Howard, that's a great thing, man. I mean, congratulations to you, brother. That's pretty cool, everybody saying those things about you.
It was nice. I mean, I talked to Vermeil. We didn't see eye to eye when he was the head coach. And I found out something I didn't know. One of the things he was mad at me about. I learned about it, 40 years later. And then Mike Schmidt called in. I had no idea he was going to call him. We have a big history. But I asked Mike if I ever ripped him. He says, I can't remember, but you probably did. So there's a lot of guys that, it's just, I'd have to go 10 hours if I had all the guys on that were mad at me at one time and now have gotten away from it. But 35 years, that's at one station. I was doing sports talk before that, but I did the first sports talk show on WIP here in Philadelphia. And that was August 29th, 1986. And here I am still pissing people off. So it's just,
absolutely. Howard, who was your favorite target over the years?
Wow. There was a few. They're really, Buddy Ryan was may rest in peace. Let me say that first. Buddy Ryan was so far from being a head coach. His son just as bad a head coach as he was. So Buddy Ryan, I used to rip him on my show, and he used to rip me on his show. He called me the gerbil. So, Buddy, come up with something better than that. But then I ended up washing his feet when he was the head coach of Arizona for $2,000 for charity. So when they came in, I washed his feet over at the hotel. Interesting, the family of feet, when you take that to the next level. I'm trying to, and then Jim Fregosi he was just a jerk. He was a manager that couldn't manage a lick ever, anywhere. And he got mad because I reported he was trying to undermine the manager of the Phillies one spring training, 16 games, and he yelled and screamed at me at spring training, and it's all nonsense. 16 games into the season, he was the manager of the Phillies. They fired Nick Leyva. Charlie Manuel wanted to drop me, and now we're friends. It's just Mitch Williams wanted to punch me in the mouth, and now we're good friends. I said, hey, you want to punch me in the mouth? Let's step outside of the locker room. Go ahead, you can take care of it there. I knew he wouldn't do it, and we never went out there. But who was Allen Iverson? Boy, we went back and forth, and now every time he comes to Philadelphia, he comes up and hugs me. He says, man, I love you. LaShawn McCoy says, what do you think of this guy? He says, he's going to rip you, but you got to love him. So when they were at a Sixers game together one time after Allen was done playing. So it was T.O. got mad at me. T.O. we got along, we didn't get along, who knows? And then when he started whining and crying I remember on CNBC, he said he's just got to make enough to feed his family. So I conducted a canned food drive to make sure his family was fed. Boy, did that piss him off. And they sent in the canned food. So that pissed him off. And then when he left the Eagles, he was with Dallas, and we were at a Super Bowl party in Miami. And he was with the Cowboys. Says, you're going to screw them up just like you did the Eagles. We went back and forth. I started telling the story on the air when I came back from the Super Bowl that week. And he called on a regular line. And a guy said, producer says, I named Terrell Owens says he's on the line. I said, what? I said, all right, put him on. I don't know who it is, if it's him. So he comes on. We went 26 straight minutes of killing each other. Just killing each other. And then every time he sees me, hey, how are you? He's not a bad guy. My 5,000 sports talk show, which is back in 2007, I asked Rich Powerful, who we both know well, who was with the University of Miami, and now with the Cowboys. I said, can you ask T.O. if he'd come on the show for my 5,000 show? Sure enough, he said yes, right on time. Right on time. I'm telling you. So I can't tell. There's been a lot of guys. I mean, there's managers, coaches, you name it. One time in the locker room, this is when Randall Cunningham was with the team. A guy named Bill Johnson, who was a defensive lineman. Good guy. Walks in, the Eagles were 0-5. Walks in the locker room, and he says, what do you think of this team? I said, you're kidding me, right? I said, you really want to know what I think of this team? He says, you suck. You absolutely suck. I grew up with a team coached by a guy named Jerry Williams, and I thought that was the worst team. This team is worse. And then a wide receiver by the name of Jeff Graham was a couple lots away from where I was standing. And he came over from San Diego. I says, you see that guy over there? I have as many catches as him. Zero. I said, so I went off. I said, you wanted to know? I told you suck. But he was a good guy about it. Some guys are good. After it's all over, it's like Vermeil realized it's part of my job. Guys realize it's part of my job, and they come up. Guys that I would never expect to come up to me and say, hey, how you doing? It's crazy, but it's been fun, but I always kept it real. I always kept it honest, and I always tried to be true to myself, and I didn't say things that I didn't believe. So it's the fact that I'm still in the air and somebody hasn't kicked my ass, and they're not the only ones, is amazing. You know, when I said to Mitch, let's step outside, I took it into my hands. If he drops me, I'll be able to sue him and never have to work a day in my life again, or I'll just be so mangled because he would beat the living daylights out of me. So it's just, but I was right. You don't give a guy that throws hard at that time a long-term contract because those guys lose their fastball. Second year of the contract, that's when they lost to the Toronto Blue Jays, the World Series, because he lost a little bit off his fastball. So usually I'm right. And I can't remember the last time, maybe 15, 20 years ago, I maybe wasn't right. So that's just the way it is.
Howard, I love that about you, man, because it's one of the most important things that I think a lot of broadcasters miss, and that is it's also about being entertaining. It's not just about just the facts and throwing all the geeky stats out. It's also about being entertaining, and that's why you've been on the air for 35 years. Let me get into the Eagles here, and I want to give you some insight here. I talked to Nick Caserio and the people around Nick Caserio in Houston, and some of the words coming out are just your thoughts on this, that the agent for, I think his name is Dave Mogada, has said that Deshaun Watson has told the Texans that he does not want to be traded to the Philadelphia Eagles. That's what's going around a little bit in the chatterbox right now. What's your thoughts on that and Deshaun not wanting to go to Philly?
Well, does Deshaun want to sit every game? Does he want to sit and not play? Or does he want to play football? So that's what it's going to come down to. Who is more powerful, Deshaun Watson or Aaron Rodgers? I think we know the answer to that, right?
Right.
Aaron Rodgers said he wanted to be traded. Where's Aaron Rodgers right now? With the Green Bay Packers, right? So that's the bottom line. I think some players have leverage, but I don't think Deshaun Watson has as much leverage with all the things hanging over him. If he wants a comfort level, then that doesn't show me a good, if in fact that's really him, it doesn't show me a good thing about it. Philadelphia's a tough town. I guess he's comfortable in the AFC. Miami doesn't have as much to give up as the Eagles would have to give up. But I just still think the Eagles are really in the mix. And, okay, sit down, Deshaun, then sit down. You're not playing. You're not going to be activated each week. You're not going to play football. Or work something out. Maybe you get $5 million to pay off all these civil suits, and he's going to have to do something. I mean, I don't know what's going to happen. And he's going to be suspended. I don't know how many games. It could be 6, could be, who knows, but it's going to be a suspension. So, but you want to move past that, and you want to play football. And if you're good and you've got what it takes, you'll play anywhere. And the Eagles could be on the upswing. Miami, they have a good defense. I'm not sure about Miami. And they're playing in a tough division because Buffalo's going to be good for years with Josh Allen as their quarterback. And who knows if Mac Jones develops into what the Patriots think he could develop into, they could be a good team again. So I think the Eagles, this division sucks. The Cowboys are frauds and always have been. Who knows whether Dak Prescott's going to be healthy the whole year. Daniel Jones can't play. They're just I just don't know where the Giants are. The Redskins are a good team because of their defense, but after this year, they're going to need a quarterback again. So the future, the Eagles could have a good future. Now, I don't know that they will, but I don't think it's dead yet. And I'm going to take this a step further. He can say what he wants, but obviously the Eagles aren't worried about that. Jalen Hurts took 10 snaps in the preseason, which is a joke. It really is a joke. When all these other quarterbacks, 80% of them are playing in the third and final preseason game. Nope, didn't do it with the Eagles. 10 snaps is not enough. And I started to think last week, maybe they just don't want to play him because they don't want him to get hurt because he would be involved in some kind of trade. You take next step, whatever way you want to take it. And then I started thinking, I said, that's the only reason that I can think that he's not playing. So that's the first step. Then when they traded for Gardner Minshew, Gardner, I can't think of another person I know with the first name of Gardner. I always say Gordon, but Gardner Minshew. Then when they trade for him, I'm saying, why would they trade for him? With Hurts here and 3 quarterbacks, because if they get Watson, somehow, whether Hurts goes to Houston or gets traded somewhere else, and Watson is suspended, now they have 2 quarterbacks again. I try to play this all out, and again, it's strictly my opinion, based on, why Minshew, and I don't think they gave up that much, but, it's good for them. It's just, it gives them somebody else in case they do. But I still think by the chain of events that I just laid out, I still think there's a good chance that there could be a trade with Houston, and it could be Watson. Again, that's strictly my opinion.
No, I agree with everything and how you're laying the tracks out here for that. And I would even ask you this then, Howard, too, being around the team. And I was talking to Baldinger last week. He said he had a pretty tough practice against the Jets last week, that being Jalen Hurts. He took off. He was running real quick. He's got to be better, he said, in the pocket. The O-line is going to be better than what people think. This kid, Jordan Mailata, it looks like he's going to be an earth mover. So I happen to agree with you here. And that leads me to this question here. When they bring in Minshew like this, who was over 60% last year, and he was on a horrible Jags team. I mean, with a good old line, Devontae Smith, do you think that they have a short hook for Jalen Hurts this year if they don't see him getting out of the gate in the first 3 games?
No, because I think they want to see him have success, because if they're going to trade him, they want to see him play well. And they want to see him play well because they want to win. No, I don't think they'll have a short hook. I can't believe they would do that to him. Now, if he's really, really, really bad, and I don't think that'll be the case, not in this division. Now, the first part of their schedule, they play Atlanta, not a good team. Then they come home to play San Francisco, Kansas City, and then I think they go on the road, and then they come back for Tampa on Thursday night. But that's an advantage for the Eagles because Tampa has 2 tough games before that, and it's a Thursday night game for Tampa on the road. But if he struggles the first 4 or 5 games, I just think it's too early. But I still don't think, and now I don't think so. Then they have Minshew next year. Flacco's only got 1 year contract. Minshew's got 2 years left this year and next year on a low contract. I think it's under $1 million. So all that considered, and the other possibilities, no, I don't think they would do that to Jalen Hurts. I don't, unless he was completely horrible, and I don't think that's the case. But then I don't think you can go to Minshew. I think you have to go to Flacco out of respect. And Flacco didn't do, again, you can't tell anything in these preseason games, but he played well in the Jets game. He played well he didn't play well in that game where Hurts had to go to the hospital because, I guess it was last minute and they put in a different offensive line, different center. So I can't judge him on that game. But Joe did a nice job. He moved around a little bit. He went and rolled left and threw a really nice pass. One play I remember. Now you're playing against second and third and maybe guys that aren't even on the roster. But I think Joe Flacco did a nice job. So I think Flacco would be there next anyway.
Howard, are you shocked that Zach Ertz is still on the team?
No, not at all. Not at all. Somebody had to get hurt. I've actually spoken to Zach, and he hasn't spoken publicly yet, but he's kind of over it. He just wants to play. That's where it really comes down to. And obviously, with Dallas Goedert as a starting tight end, he doesn't know how much he's going to play. And I don't think Nick Sirianni runs the two tight end offense as much, or as some really people who think they're really smart 12 personnel. Explain to people what 12 two tight ends. How's that? Let's simplify it for people. They're not rocket scientists out there. So, but I don't think Nick Sirianni runs a lot of two tight end offenses. So Zach's not going to get a lot of time, but I wouldn't think he would. I don't know that he will or he won't. Who knows? Zach is starting to get in a good frame of mind. He's doing everything the team wants him to do, and he's 20 catches to be the all-time leading receiver on the Philadelphia Eagles. So that's in the back of his mind too. So I am not surprised that he is here. Nope.
Hey, Howard, how about this? Talking again to Baldinger last week, and I was talking about the offensive line, and I didn't know that they had created as much depth as they did a year ago. I guess there's a silver lining when you suck and you're 4-11-1. You're going to play a lot of guys. And Baldy said, Sills, don't go to sleep on the O-line. The kid Jordan Mailata could be the best offensive tackle in the game. You've still got Lane Johnson. You still got a bunch of guys in that team. That's got to be the strength of the football team, right? In your opinion, that's the strength of the team. And for them to be successful this year, they've got to run the ball.
Their offensive line is their strength because as long as they stay healthy, Kelsey is a stud. Lane Johnson at the right tackle is a stud. Brandon Brooks, right guard, is a stud. So, you worry a little about the left. I think Baldy's going a little overboard on Mailata. He's really picked up a lot, and he's gotten better. But he's had some games where speed rushers are a problem for everybody. But he's done a good job. But, the best in the game, I think, is a little bit of a stretch. I think he could be good. I'm telling you, don't count out Andre Dillard. Now, he had a heart problem. When I say a heart problem, not medically a heart problem, mentally a heart problem his first year. He just wasn't tough enough. I think he toughened up a little bit. And some people tell me, and Mike Quick is the analyst on our radio broadcast, and Mike said that Andre Dillard had a good game because Mailata didn't play. So Dillard had a lot of snaps. He said he's played well. So don't count Andre Dillard out. Now, Mailata is ahead of him right now, especially since he's got more time in camp because Dillard was hurt. But the Eagles have a good offensive line. So if that stays intact, if Devontae Smith plays well, again, he's a rookie. Even though he's good, he's a rookie. Quez Watkins is a guy that everybody's excited about. If Jalen Reagor ever develops into what should have been a number one pick, they might have some pretty good wide receivers. So offensively, they could be good. Defensive line is good. I kind of worry about the secondary. Not worry about it. I wonder. I think they got a couple of good linebackers. So the safeties are new. So, I think I worry more about the defense than the offense.
Finally here, I need to get some clarity on the Wing Bowl. Tony Bruno takes as much credit for the Wing Bowl as anybody in Philadelphia. And I don't know, I threw it out there at Tony. I said, okay, who's responsible for the Wing Bowl? That thing, from what I understand, turned out to be an event where you guys then used to sell out the Spectrum, where people used to show up on that Wing Bowl. Who is the godfather of the Wing Bowl in Philadelphia?
Okay, well, Tony thinks he invented the light bulb. Tony is responsible for Tony thinks, and I worked with Tony when he was 19 years old. We worked together as young kids. And I've known Tony for a long time, and I love Tony. But come on, it's like I have a trademark. Stone Cold Mortal Lock is my trademark.
No way! Oh my God! Wait a minute. That's. I thought that was his.
That's what he says. But I was on the air doing a talk show before Tony Bruno, so I've been using it since 1979, and it took me about 5 years, but I got a trademark. It's in there. It's in the trademark and patent office building. It's actually located in Alexandria or Arlington, Virginia. That's where the government office is. That's my trademark. That's mine. So that's like Tony takes credit for everything. Tony is, you name it. I mean, if a team wins a championship, I'm responsible for that. I told him to get that guy. I told him to get that guy. I'm telling you, what's the greatest? What do you think the greatest invention of all time is?
The
What's the
wheel.
greatest invention of all time?
The wheel.
Okay, that's Tony Bruno. Tony Bruno. How about a corkscrew? Tony Bruno. The guys, whoever it is, making billions off of that, off a corkscrew. It's just that Tony Bruno. Tony has invented everything and responsible for everything, even things he doesn't even know he's responsible for. So in the end, let me get to the wing bowl. I love Tony, but come on, Tony, you're ridiculous. The wing bowl was actually a guy named Al Morgani, who works on the morning show at WIP. I don't know how it started, but he kind of talked about it. People, like the hot dog eating contest. I don't know how long that's been going on. The wing bowl lasted, I think, 24, 25 years. So I don't know how long the hot dog eating contest in Coney Island was going on, but it was a good thing. And these people, they're nuts. And then women used to come out and take off their tops. And so it was perfect for the people in parts. I'm not going to say what parts of Philadelphia because it'll get me in trouble. For parts of Philadelphia, they're used to seeing that all the time. It's the people with no teeth, and it's just whatever. It's where the tooth fairy goes broke because they don't have any teeth. So, but there are parts of Philadelphia, so they came out. I love the people in Philadelphia, though. They were so nice to me for my 35th anniversary. So I'm being a little sarcastic, but it came out in droves. It was unbelievable. And like everything, it kind of runs its course. And wings are wings. And it was just unbelievable. And there was some really, really good people in there. And they would get, with the hot dogs, you get the bread and the water dripping all over you because they dip the bread in the water for the hot dog thing. But for the wings, it's the wing sauce all over their face, just dripping down. So it was clearly an event, and they did it in the morning. I don't know what their stomachs were like the rest of the year, but I got to give. And Al's kind of a nitwit. He used to do hockey reporting for ESPN. He's a hockey guy, so what the hell does he know anyway? So I think Al is pretty much responsible for it. But whatever it is, you find a new car, like the electric car. It's Tony Bruno. It was Tony's innovation to have an electric car. He's got for everything. What's the best food you ever had? Pizza. That's Tony Bruno. Tony invented pizza. So what the heck? Just give him credit for everything. Tony's
oh my God, Howard, I love you so much.
Next time you talk to him, Stone Cold Mortalock, Tony, you want to use?
Oh no, I'm going to go like this. Eskin's calling you out, and by the way, he's got a patent, and I checked it out with the U.S. Patent Office. TB, man, Howard doesn't collect, man. I think he says you owe him some money, man.
That's exactly right. It's funny. ESPN was using it on Friday morning when was it Mike Greenberg and Mike Golick?
Yeah, Mike and Mike.
I don't know if they had Stone Cold Mortalock, but any deviation is still my rights. So I had an attorney send them a letter, and they said, well, they started it before. Well, they weren't on the air before I started it. So, and I had people that were witnesses for me using Stone Cold Mortalock back when I first did talk radio in 1979. So I sent them a letter, and eventually they stopped using it. And they knew it's mine. It's mine. It's just Tony, find something else. Find spaghetti. I mean, just come up with something else.
Howard, you have to have a Monday through Friday again. I mean, I don't even know if you want to do that anymore, but you just need to. No, because you know what? I don't know if our soft country could take you anymore. I don't know.
Well, I'm on the air probably 5 times a week during football season anyway, at least maybe 6 times a week, but I don't have a steady afternoon show. 25 years of doing afternoon drive, and I was doing it on AM radio. Think about that in today's world. Everything goes to AM. So, and it was successful. And I do want to say, and I'll give credit to the people in the Philadelphia area, and people were calling from all over the country who listen to me now that the station is streamed. But I had so many nice comments, whether they're Twitter. is the toilet of the internet, but not for this. They were really nice. They were polite. They made great comments. I am blown away, with all the social media posts of all the people that I had in my past. I mean, I've had Muhammad Ali on the air. You name it, and that's the greatest of all time. You name it, I've had them. So
Okay, so wait a minute. I just had somebody ask me who Vegas Vicky was.
Vegas Vic.
Vegas
when that
Vic
started in Vegas Vic in 1977. A writer at the Daily News, Stan Hochman, who was a great writer, great columnist. And we're talking about gambling. He says, I think our paper, and he knew that I knew a lot about gambling. And I used to bet. I haven't bet in 30 years, but at least 30 years. But I knew a lot. He says, we're thinking of doing a column every day, and a gambling column. So he says, you might want to talk to him. So I talked to the publisher, great guy. And next thing I know, I'm doing and nobody knew who I was for at least 2 years. At least 2 years. Because any full page ads, they shot me from the back. And people were, there was no internet back then. So people were calling up, trying to find out my picks. I think I hit every Monday night game except one. Had 21 out of 22 straight NBA games. I was good, and I'm still good. I go on my website and I try to raise money for charity, and people pay for the games. Not a lot, just a little bit. They pay for the games, and I give it to an SPCA here. I raise money for the Eagles Autism Challenge, but whatever. But I was the original. I'm incorporated. I still have a corporation, but it's been dormant for a while. Vegas Vic Incorporated. I was the original Vegas Vic. And in '81, there was a baseball strike, and I reported a story who was going to buy the Sixers. And one of the writers for the Daily News got really pissed off. And the sports editor, who was a friend of mine, says, if you're going to do that, report that. I said, wait a minute, it was the right story. It was Harold Katz who bought the Sixers at the time. If you're going to do that, what do you mean, what am I doing? That's my job. I talk radio too. I do other jobs. So I said, you know what, I'm done. So that was it. So 4 years, and they never had anybody as good as me. It's a guy, I think the guy in New York, I don't even know who does it now. But I was good.
Hey, Howard,
really
we got to
good.
roll here, man. We could talk forever. I'd love talking with you. I hope you do this as much as you possibly can, because I know you're swamped with stuff, and I just love you, man. I think you're an icon, and I think you're a legend as well. Thank you so much, Howard.
Well, hey, wait a minute. Icon doesn't mean you're old. Legend sounds like you're old. So I'm an icon. Okay? That's
Icon. Thank you, brother. I appreciate it. That is.
And the people of Philadelphia are great.
That is my man, Howard Eskin. Thank you, Howard. I appreciate it. Man, he was good. Okay? We're working on the connection, man. See, he gets in his backyard, and Krause hates it because you know why? He wants him sitting at the he wants him sitting at the piano with a Chardonnay in his hand. So drinking or a Cabernet, or a Monet, or a Merlot, whatever. Sitting there fastest 2 hours on YouTube. That's right. Fastest 2 hours. That's what's called pacing, my friends. That's pacing. Oh, and by the way, nobody gets pissed off, right? Well, I don't know. Maybe you get pissed off at big sales. Pretty easy to get pissed off. My old lady gets pissed off at me every day. I should say every 30 seconds. Why are you putting that down the drain? Because the place is dirty. You should see my job now. Okay, I take the trash out and I talk trash. So wait a minute. He's not as high on Jordan Mailata as Baldinger is. Hey, for the record, I'm going to tell you guys I think the kid's going to be a great football player too.